this is the only tool that you need for sculpting. In last October, I created 31 sculptures. Yes, they're not the most amazing, they're not the most detailed. Some I did it in 5 minutes, some I did it in 10 minutes, and some maybe took me 20 minutes. But all of them, I did it only with one tool. And before I talk about that tool, I want to talk about more tools. Because yes, I really recommend this tool, but maybe you get a package with more than one tool and you're wondering, how can I use this? So these are not gonna be all the tools, because there are thousands of tools. At the beginning, I thought I needed all the tools. That's what's gonna make me a better sculptor, and I was so wrong. So definitely, I have pretty much all the tools that you can think of. They are somewhere in my house. My cat sometimes, I feel that he takes my tools, and I imagine that he has his own studio because clay and things disappear. But that's another story. But now let's start talking about some kind of tools that I recommend. First of all, I really recommend if you get anything that is metal, it will last a little bit longer. Doesn't mean that it's gonna be forever, but it will last longer. We have also a lot of tools that are wood and are metal, depending how they are, and you can kind of feel it. And if you do it, you can either bend them, and if that happens, they're not really good tools. Right now, I know that I have the cheapest here, so I wouldn't recommend, because they can really break. They can even just fall apart. I don't know if they have just glue or just by pressure, but they still could be useful if you're starting. Whatever you can get is useful. The most important thing is to start sculpting. And another type are the plastic ones. The plastic ones, the reality is that I've seen them more useful in the kitchen. And what I'm talking about is those amazing artists that do like cake decoration, because the cake or any material that they're using is soft, or at least softer than polymer clay or other material. They will survive. But I've seen, no, and I'm actually going to show you a metal one. That's why I say that they're not forever. It bended, and I use it with polymer clay. If I would have a tool that was plastic, probably would have been gone long time ago. Another type of tool is the one that you can change the tips. This one I recommend because you only buy one, and you can have kind of the best world of everything. Cannot show you that tool right now, just the tips, because I think my cat has it. But there's another tool that I'm gonna talk in a little bit. But let's start with some of the tools that I recommend. Like I mentioned, they're not all of them, but they're the ones that I recommend. So I'm gonna start with the ones that has a tip. There's many sizes, but the tip is like a metal sphere. So these are amazing. Basically, the way I use them, you can create your eyes. No, that's one of the best features. Well, the socket. Another way that I use it, I have this mask. If you have been following my channel for a long time, I have a video where I create this one with monster clay, and this is the replica with resin. But basically what I did is I took that same tool and I create a texture, and I really like it. So you can create texture, you can create eyeball sockets, but also what I love about this tool is that you can move clay around. Sometimes I have used it. It's not the best tool for that, but I use it to smooth things, or even to try to even certain parts of the sculpture. So now the second tool will be these ones. These ones, for at the beginning, I didn't really care about it. And to be honest, I don't use it really that much. I use X-Acto knife. But a lot of kits come with this type of knives. Some, they're only with one blade, and otherwise like double bladed. Or at least you can cut both sides. And these are really useful if you want to cut things. Like I have this is one of the first sculptures that I did after I felt comfortable creating things. And I know it looks way better probably than any of these smaller sculptures. But basically, to create this belt and to create this part on top, I had to use that to cut it. I put the clay through my pasta machine, and then it's really easy. So knives also, you can use it to create battle scars in your sculpture. Like over here in my mask, I have here some lines. But to be honest, this next tool is one of the ones that I didn't really care about much, and that I don't really use, but it's kind of cool. And it's this kind of like a needle. You can use it to create tiny dots or holes. But basically what I did is I create this kind of scars with these tools. So I love it because this one also, you can use it to cut things. Now, like I mentioned before, you run through your pasta machine and have a really thin layers, this could be your knife. You can do design. You can, if you want to do a signature on your piece, also I have used it to create signature. It's not that bad to have it. I have put this one kind of in the same family. Probably they don't belong in the same family, but pretty much I call it the spatula family. In these ones, basically they have a type of flat surface that you can use to move things around. They have different shapes. Maybe this one doesn't belong in the family. This one is more for carving, taking material away. But I do love to use it as a spatula and just use the back. I use the tip for a really tiny designs. The other type of tool that I have is these ones that you can find it almost kind of similar to any other tools. But the difference is that they have rubber on top. This is the one that I was gonna talk about. But this one's the tip is really soft, so they're made more for, not really for carving or creating certain design, which you can do, more the ones that are kind of have a really flat tip. You can do that, but their mainly purpose is to create, to combine and to mix clay, not to put them together, to make sure that when you blend them you don't have like a harsh line, so it's more soft. For sure you can also do other things, wrinkles and other lines, and they're not gonna be that harsh like if you use the knife. A lot of people use a plastic bag or something to cover and then they do the design. That could help to create that smoothness if you are creating lines, but to be honest, you may not need it. Another type of tool that any sculptor should have is this ones, the loop tool. And this one, if you can see, they're kind of flat, and to be honest, it's because this is the cheapest version of this tool. But if you can find, or you can make it yourself, that has like a wire all around or has teeth, that will help you a lot, because the purpose of this tool is to remove clay, is to, well, there are many techniques, but you can also smooth, you can also even the clay, so it's just amazing. Another thing that's not really a tool is my kit for ceramics, for pottery. But one of the things that I want to say is that doesn't matter what material you're using, those tools are used almost the same way. Of course, depending on the material, you may have to use it in a different way, but basically they're meant to do the same thing. And over here I have this one. This I love because it has so many tools. Like you see, they're a little bit bigger because they're supposed to be for ceramics. The other ones are more for sculpting and small things, but they have similar tool. Not like over here we have the rubber, we have some spatulas, we have the loop tool, and there's so many tools, but you don't need that much. If you watch a short list of videos that I create every single one of these pieces, for some it was the 20%, for some was the 30th, for some was the 50%. All the piece that I created just using my hands. So don't think that you really need tools. That's why my biggest mistake that I did at the beginning. They're useful, of course. They're nice to have. But don't forget that without anything, just with the clay, you can create amazing things. And as a tool, you can use anything. Anything can become a tool. Toothpick, I mentioned before many times. A key, a coin, pretty much anything can become your tool. So now I'm gonna show you, this is the tool that I love the most, and is this one. This one has a tiny spatula on the top, and it has kind of a type of a knife on the bottom. To be honest, I wish it was another type of a spatula on the other side. Like, I'm gonna show you two tools, and if you're one of those person that really watch all the videos and they're like looking at the tools that I'm using, I could have been a mix of these ones. They are kind of similar, but they have different spatula. To be honest, I was just grabbing whatever I found here on my desk, because sometimes, like I mentioned before, my cat takes them and it's not a joke. But basically they're so useful, they're so tiny. That's what I use to create, like example, this tiny sculpture of a clicker, to create even the tongue, to create and to push everything, to create all the design on the head, all this kind of fungus or infection I created with this tool. I have used the back and I have used it like for the mouth, for details, but most of the time, 99% of the time, just with this. And a lot of sculptures that you see, to be honest, I don't use any others. I used to use, like I mentioned before, the one with the sphere on top. I have used this one using my cement or my clay for pottery. That's the only that I have used it. But overall, regular clay, polymer clay, mustard clay, even dry clay, everything has been, most of it, used with this tool. Just with this tool. It's like kind of a spatula. So the most important thing on this video is that if you want to really be a good sculptor, just practice. Use whatever you can have around you. And if you can find this one, I'm gonna leave a link in the description. For sure is a really good tool. Subscribe and comment below if this was useful, which type of tools you want to see. Maybe I didn't show the one that you're curious about. Like I mentioned, I have almost all of them, so let me know. And if you want to see more about this material, I have playlists, and I'm gonna give you also the playlist where you can find all these sculptures. So enjoy art and see you next time.